how to prepare yourself for the upcoming inflation boom coming up. Hi everyone, this is Dr. Ernesto from AttaBoyCowBoy, and on this channel we give you health and wealth tips to help you be more successful. Now, because of all the things that are happening right now worldwide with COVID, we're expecting a worldwide inflation boom. Now, what's going to cause that and how do we prepare for it? Let me explain what's going on right now. So, there are a lot of interesting economic dynamics going on right now. Right now, a lot of people are not spending as much on certain things because a lot of people are unemployed, they feel scared, or they're simply not getting enough money from their businesses and stuff like that, because that demand is down worldwide for things because people are staying indoors and they're limiting a lot of their activity. So think about it. If you could go out and do whatever you wanted, you would be creating a lot of wealth for someone, right? You're driving your car, you're buying things, you're taking trips, you're doing all these other things that you typically would do. Go to the movies, go to the gym. No one's doing any of that stuff. So someone's losing, and there's a whole chain of people losing everywhere. Restaurants are down, everything. So what's happening is there's a pent-up demand right now, and there's a lot of production cuts coming that are already happening worldwide, right? Because if people aren't traveling, then obviously, for example, Boeing is not going to make as many planes, and travel sites are not going to rent as many hotel rooms. There's no reason to build hotel rooms, etc., etc. Causes a chain reaction through the supply chain for everything. There's what they call a supply shock right now. So because of COVID, this is all happening worldwide, not just in the United States. So now we're weeks away from having a vaccine that's going to come to market. By springtime, most Americans are going to be able to get a vaccine, and by next summer it's going to be exported all over the world. So once we get these vaccines out, a lot of people are going to go out and be like, wow, I'm free. I'm able to go out and go shopping, go to the movies, go to the gym, take a plane flight, go anywhere in the world I want. The world is going to basically open up for business a lot again, right? So what's going to happen? Well, a lot of businesses have went out of business, and a lot of people have lost their jobs. So that excess capacity that we might have had in the past is gone. So all of a sudden, for example, you might have 1 million people traveling to Hawaii, and they only have enough restaurants, let's say, to feed 100,000 people. So what happens is people start bidding prices up, and that causes inflation. That's going to happen for everything. It's going to happen for used cars, it's going to happen for travel, it's going to happen for services, it's going to happen for everything. Remember, a lot of businesses have went out of business, they're closed. So if you, for example, used an accountant, and there were 100 accountants in your city, maybe 30 or 40 went out of business. Maybe only 10 went out of business. The point is that there's going to be less available because so many businesses has failed. So the ones that are existing are going to be able to charge more for their services or their products, and that's what causes inflation. Now, what is inflation exactly? Well, let me explain a little bit. Inflation is kind of like this. Let's say you have $100 in the bank. And in the United States, we average about 3% inflation. So at the end of the year, you look at your bank account and you say, hey, I still have $100 in my bank account. You do, but it's not really worth $100 anymore. It's actually worth $97 in terms of purchasing power, what you can actually buy. It decreased by 3%. So when inflation goes up, your purchasing power decreases. I know in some countries like Venezuela, where they have over $2 million % inflation, they'll pay you in the morning, and just for an example, let's just say they give you $5. In the morning, you can buy a breakfast. By dinner time, that $5 might be worth 5 cents. You can't even buy a napkin to wipe your lips after dinner. So that's an example of extreme inflation. Now, we're not going to have that in the United States, but it's definitely going to happen in a lot of countries, and we are going to have more inflation in the United States, that's for sure. It might go up to 4, 5, 6, 7, who knows how much percent. Now, some people hear that and they might say, oh, that's never going to happen. In psychology, that's called normalcy bias. People are used to things until they change, then it's a shock. That's kind of like with COVID. When COVID came out, no one would imagine this lockdowns and all this stuff would have happened, but it happens, right? So these things happen, and inflation happens. In fact, just look back and read about the 1980s in the United States when we had double-digit inflation. During the Ronald Reagan years, they were spending so much money to fight the Cold War. It caused massive inflation. So the inflation was so high, they wouldn't even give you fixed mortgage rates. Like right now, I can go get a mortgage rate for 2.5%. That wasn't happening in the 80s. In fact, my aunt had over 100 units, apartment units, in West Los Angeles, and she lost them because the variable rates were variable. She told me her interest rates went up to like 18-19% a year because otherwise the bank would lose money because of inflation. Imagine you have tenants paying you fixed amounts of rent and your mortgage payment goes up to almost 20%, like a credit card. You're going to lose your real estate, and that's what happened. A lot of people lost their real estate. So nobody knows if things will get that bad, but they certainly are going to increase. Inflation is going to increase because of all the dynamics that are happening now. Another thing that's going to cause more inflation is our new president, Joe Biden, is going to have to do a lot of spending to repair the economy. That's going to put the U.S. in a lot more debt. That also causes inflation. So those are all factors. We're facing a headwind. Now, how do you prepare yourself for this? Well, historically, when you're expecting a lot of inflation, you want to buy hard assets. And number one is real estate. You want to buy land. You want to buy buildings. That's the best way to deal with this. Because even if the price of your money goes down, you still own these buildings. You can raise the rents. The buildings will probably go up in value. There's a lot of benefits to having real estate. Real estate is the least affected by inflation. So wherever you live on the planet is overpopulated. So you should buy real estate. Now, gold, silver, precious metals are good to buy in times of inflation, but I would recommend you watch my video on precious metals. I do not recommend precious metals. They're not a good investment, but they are good for short-term investments when you're expecting inflation. The problem is, how long are we going to expect this inflation? We don't know. When is it going to start? We don't know. We do know it is going to start pretty soon. It's probably going to start in the springtime when they start releasing the vaccine worldwide for COVID. So I hope that helps. And if you have any comments, please comment below. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.